And welcome back to Habs Unfiltered. I'm your host, Blaine Pudvey, and I'm joined now by a special guest, Kevin Porter. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you.
I'm really happy you were able to come on the show. I've been wanting you on here for a while, and I think getting you on now is the perfect opportunity for us to plug you. Got to just get you out there. More people see you, the better.
Hopefully.
So for my listeners who may not know your story and who you are, can you give us a little bit of a background of what kind of, well, actually I'll bring it out now. You're going to be the star, the background of Relentless, the Kevin Porter story. That's going to air with two back-to-back episodes on September 21st, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. Followed by two more episodes on the 28th of September. And it's a whole series on Hollywood Suite on Demand. So fill us in on what this is about.
Oh man, where do I start? So, I mean, my hockey resurgence, if you will, I gotten back into hockey in 2010 and, I was just chipping away at it. I managed to play some games in the Federal Hockey League, and I went to Sweden in 2016, 2017. Shortly after that, I did an article for the Toronto Sun. A gentleman in Toronto by the name of Ryan Maines saw the story. Ryan contacted me with regards to, he was inquiring this documentary series, and I'm going to admit, at first I was a little hesitant. I thought, I'm just trying to play hockey here. I'm doing everything I can. And I had been, working diligently at it for a couple of years and, getting a little bit of success and evolving a little bit. And so I met with Ryan in Toronto one day for lunch, and he explained to me what their goal was. And we didn't really know how long it was going to go on for. And I don't think they kind of thought it was going to go on for as long as it did. We ended up filming stuff for 3 years, and I think just kind of, they just, like I said, they evolved on their own naturally. I mean, I worked very hard at creating opportunities for myself. Relentless, I guess, in the pursuit of trying to compete at the highest level that I'm able, and wherever that ends up, that's, it'll be what it'll be. But that's how the docuseries came about to be, and we've left it open-ended, so we're not quite finished.
Well, no, not until you get that, at least get another tryout. So for those who follow me on social media, they may have noticed some of your posts where you're posting your workouts and your on ice workouts, especially the speed ones, where you basically blow the doors off NHL speed records.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say blowing the doors off of all of them. I mean, if I was a little tired one day, they'd probably blow by me, no problem. But, definitely one of my assets, and I can turn it on and off when I have to, or kind of at will. So it's one thing I've always worked really diligently at, was my stride. When I was younger, I used to be very choppy, and then I've worked with skating coaches over the years, and it's always a work in progress, right? You just have to keep going back to the basics all the time and never neglecting them. And then we'd work on a lot of parachute work, sprints. I do a lot of face-off sprints from neutral zone, from the D zone, and just working on linear crossovers, building speed. I've changed my skate profile. I'm really, really very cognizant of my skates and my sticks. I'm meticulous. It's crazy. The steel I use, the radius I have the blades sharpened, or the depth I have them sharpened, the radius I have on my skates. And that's how I've been able to kind of work diligently to get my time down. It's just kind of a fun thing. For me, it's just at a point, and I always do the lap at the end of my workout. because I don't like to take too much time away from it at the beginning to get all my core work in. And so I figure at the end, once more ready, we'll do a couple laps and see what my time is. So that's fine.
Now, your workouts, you tend to do them early in the morning. Can you explain to my listeners why that would possibly happen? Most professionals work throughout the day, but you have a certain time constraint.
Yeah, so I'm a professional firefighter and paramedic. So my shifts are kind of all over the map: days, nights, weekends, evenings, stats, holidays, you name it, we do it. So what I try to do is after my night shifts on the fire department or the ambulance, I book in my skating time, especially first thing in the morning. So I go right from work, the fire hall, EMS. I go right to the arena. I get on the pad before anyone else is on there. It's nice and fresh. The ice is good. There's no one in the building. It's kind of quiet. It's nice. I get there usually with about an hour and 10 minutes to spare. So I've got time to mentally prepare for the training. I have a really kind of a strict routine. I like, hockey guys are real creatures of routine, I think, and girls. They have, so I get there, I get my music and my coffee, my hydration stuff, my BioSteel, headphones on before I go in, gear in the room. I go off, I do my little warm up, my mental prep. I look at the ice. I visualize what I want to do for practice and how I'm going to do it. And then right before I go back in the dressing room, I just take 5 minutes and I call it the Braden Holtby, like this, or the Mike Camilleri, Mike Camilleri, but it's visualization and it actually really works. And like, I'm so into it and I'm almost in like a trance when I get on the ice, and I've already kind of mentally rehearsed roughly what I'm going to do. Right. We always have a practice plan of what I'm working at, and then I'm able to execute, because I'm a huge proponent of not wasting time on the ice. You'll never see me trying Michigans. You'll never see me trying, I just don't like to do that on the ice, and I like to utilize every second I'm out there. So.
Yeah, I've noticed quite a lot that your practices are set up to be game situations.
You picked up on that, eh?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm watching, so I can get tips too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we don't like to incorporate, like, when I work with Eddie Choi, we collaborate on most, if not all, the drills. And also, depending on how my night is, my days at work, like a lot of times I'm there and I'm kind of under the gun myself because I'm usually a little tired from working, and sometimes sometimes I'm more mentally tired than physically. And when you're trying to do, real finite things with your hands and a lot of puck movement and tips and things, what I found over the years, Blaine, is if I can work in like a semi-tired capacity and adapt, evolve, overcome, when I do go to the rink on a day off, like when I'm not working the night before, I feel like $1,000,000 and I can perform at an even higher level. So I'm doing most of this. I'd say probably 90% of the video you see me in, especially skating wise, is after a night shift. It is what it is, right? So like on my days off, I work as a paramedic. So when do I skate? Well, I have to work. I work ambulance to make extra money to pay for ice. So when am I going to skate? After the fire department. So it is what it is. You either do it or you don't.
That's right. Well, that's why it's called Relentless. It's relentless in the pursuit. Now, you chose to leave the game when you were younger. Can you explain to my listeners why you did that?
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up in Kitchener, about an hour west of here, played all my minor hockey in Kitchener, Waterloo. I had an injury when I was, 16 years old. My Nana passed away when I was 16. My mom died for about 5 months after that. I had my hand slashed at a midget tryout, and my hand was broken. I was in a cast for probably 6 or 8 weeks. Could have been a bit longer. And it just got real crazy at that time of my life. I took some time off, because of the broken hand. The teams were made. It was kind of like a draft year to the OHL type of thing that I missed out on. And then I just started working and hanging out with buddies and going out traveling. And it was just, I got into the gym a lot um, to help manage my anger and frustration. Also got into kickboxing. So I had some outlets to help deal with, kind of the loss of my mom and Nana and, things I went through as a youngster. My parents were divorced when I was 8, just like a lot of kids have gone through it. And it's important to find an outlet. So I had those outlets. Hockey wasn't one of them at the time, but I had constructive outlets. And that's the reason why I stopped playing hockey. And, years later, we picked it up again.
So what really sparked that love of hockey to return?
Well, I always loved hockey. And I think when I got in the fire department in Brampton, we had 7 hockey teams. Like, there was not a fire department in Canada that I think had 7 hockey teams. We'd go to tournaments and we had quite the team. We'd win all the time. I mean, with 7 teams, you're looking at, 21 guys a team. So you imagine all the guys. We actually had our own fire department league. We had I think we had 4 or 5 or 6 teams. We would all play on Tuesdays. Initially it was Tuesdays and then flip-flopped around a bit based on the schedule demands. But we'd go to tournaments and just clean house. There's at Brampton A, B, C division, the old timer guys. I forget what the name of the team was called, but we'd win almost all the divisions. So I really got back into hockey with the guys at work. And then in 2010, I had a bit of an accident with a bunch of my crew members at a house fire. And it just kind of hit a switch. I was like, what am I doing? I love the job. I love being a fireman. I love being a paramedic, but something was missing, and I don't know, I went to the hospital in the ambulance with paramedics that I worked side by side with. And I was just like, I got to think of something. I got to change something. Something's got to, and then it was just the hockey. I'm like, I got to do this. It was like a switch, so yeah. And then it just evolved from there. So just kind of the way it's worked out.
Well, you already had that background with the work working in the gym and the physical aspect of your day-to-day job. So you had a little bit of a head start there. But what got you tied in with Eddie Choi?
So it's funny, I was on I can tell you exactly how it happened. So I was on the Maple their practice pad with Vanessa Crone. Vanessa is an ex-Olympian skater, and she's my skating coach. And I had Eddie on my social media, and Eddie's a great guy, really good friend of mine. And I'm on the ice with Vanessa, and I look up into the stand, and he's up there smiling, he's waving at us. He's like, "Hey, Kev," we knew each other. And I'm like, that's Eddie Choi, but I never met him. And then Vanessa and I, we were in the change room. I was getting, undressed after the practice, and he knocks on the door and he's like, "Can I come in?" And, of course, come on in. We're just talking about, the work we did. Well, Eddie comes in and I said, "Hey, why don't you come out sometime?" And his schedule is very flexible. And he's been coming along for the ride with me ever since. And we've done some work together and trained some other kids, and we have a lot of fun.
And that's the main, if nothing else comes of it, at least you got the experience of doing this. So, but you did have some successes. You mentioned,
absolutely.
You mentioned playing in Europe.
Yeah. So I played a few games with Steel City Warriors in the Federal Hockey League. And one of the goaltenders was like, why don't you come to Sweden? He was going to Sweden the next year. And so I got hooked up and I started, videotaping all my workouts. And then we sent some video to some teams. And this agent that my goaltender worked with hooked it up. His son, his wife is from Sweden. His son was playing in Sweden at the time. He spoke the language, so communicating and facilitating kind of the setup was real easy. and then I went over there and had a great time. And it's a beautiful country. I love it so much there. I can't wait to go back. Um, I probably would have been back already if it wasn't for COVID for a holiday, but it's just, you know, like for everybody, COVID's just kind of ruined a lot of plans for people, or, deferred gratification. So, at some point we'll get back over there for a holiday.
Now you mentioned the pandemic. What has the pandemic done to slow down your chances?
Well, I wouldn't say it's slowed anything down for me. I'll be brutally honest with you. When this hit, I remember it was March 13th was our last skate in 2020. March 13th, I remember being on the ice on rink 1 at the MasterCard Center at the time it was called. And I'm like, man, like things are going to get shut down. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to be off the ice for. The season's basically, from what I understood, basically a write-off. I mean, our league shut down. I had gotten 2 games in with Port Huron, and then the season got shut down. I was sad for that. I was sad for the guys who were like, I was playing part-time, but there were guys that were playing like full-time and then been there since the beginning of the season, and they were making money, and now it's like everything's just shot to hell. So it was extremely frustrating for a lot of people, but I said to myself, okay, like under no circumstances I'm going to let this cripple me. I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to train at home. I'm going to, if I have to get rollerblades, I get rollerblades. If I have to like jump on a plane at some time to go train, I had, some contacts throughout North America and Europe, places I could go that maybe weren't in the same COVID situation. That never ended up happening because things were kind of open, close here. But I just kind of made a deal with myself. I said, you know what, I'm not going out like this. I've come too far. I've done way too much work. I spent way too much time, effort, and money on this. And there's no excuses. And yeah, it was just like a machine. Like I bought an Airdyne bike. I'd ride at home with my hockey gear on. People probably thought I was insane, but I was trying to mimic being in that gear, right? The movements, like just being hot in the gear. I tried to mimic that. I was very fortunate. I had access to Muay Thai club, so I was able to train, and my conditioning probably, to be honest with you, through COVID probably got better because I changed so many things and evolved my training. I had to adapt, and I come back and I say adapt, evolve, and overcome, is because that's exactly what you have to do in a time like that. You can't sit around and feel sorry for yourself, or you're just going to, you're going to just regress so much you won't be able to play catch up. So for me, it was just more about getting on the ice consistently. And when that couldn't happen, I just had to, default to some other things just to keep the conditioning up, and then keep my head in the game, watch a lot of videos, and stay positive.
Well, if you ever get really desperate, you just need to join the Navy Reserves, and I can hook you up with teams, no problem. We even pay for equipment.
Perfect. Sticks? You guys pay for sticks?
Sticks? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, sticks, gloves, helmets, pants, the whole thing.
Perfect. Love it.
I mean, tax dollars at work, right?
I pay enough tax.
Yeah.
We all pay enough tax.
Yeah. What was the last thing? Yeah, there was one more thing. So this series, they followed you for several years, and they filmed you training. Did they film you while you were working on your day job as well, so they can get an idea of that?
So that was talked about, and then when COVID hit, we just couldn't do it. It just couldn't happen. There was just way too many legalities, and I mean, the paramedic students, they couldn't even come out for months on end, right? We had no fire students, we had no paramedic students, so the thought of bringing a film crew or a guy with a camera just wasn't going to happen. We weren't even allowed visitors at the hall. We're still not, right? So it is what it is. And, we captured a lot of cool stuff and had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, that's about the only thing we didn't cover was actually being at work.
Yeah. And
which is maybe a good thing because I would have razzed real bad. So, but that's okay.
It's always hard to look really good when you're running around all sweaty in the fire gear.
Yeah, well, it's at that point it's almost. I mean, people film me anyways on scene now, right? We get off the fire truck or the ambulance, and there's people with iPhones that are filming you. So, you're doing your job, and people are doing it, but you're so focused on your task that it's not really a big deal, right?
Yeah, and I want to just to let you know that I appreciate all that you've done as a first responder. I mean, working through COVID is a horrible time. It's a horrible addition on top of the extra burden, basically, on your day-to-day job. So I want to thank you for that as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. There's two ways you look at it. I mean, I'm just very fortunate to have secure, well-paying jobs, and you kind of you got to know what you're getting into, right? It's like, okay, like I'm a firefighter. I go to fires, MVCs, a million things. I'm a paramedic. I go to all these medical calls and car accidents, and it's what we do. And, it's funny, for the first few months, it was actually not so bad because people were so frightened to call 911. People were actually really frightened to go to the hospital. The busiest part has been, I wouldn't say post-COVID because COVID's still around, but people really neglected their health for a number of months. So now all these other things creep up that they didn't pay attention to, right? So that's kind of the issue we're seeing now, as well as COVID cases. But, I just kind of look at it, Blaine, as I'm just really fortunate to have well-paying jobs in this crazy time where a lot of people were losing their jobs, right? Or working from home, stuck working at home. And, some people don't like to work at home. I'm able to get out and socialize with my crewmates, and it was kind of normal for me that way. But a lot of people went going through a lot of things with mental health issues and money problems. And so we're pretty fortunate that way. So could be worse. Could be worse.
It definitely could be worse. I understand that part where I was lucky as well, getting to work on the ship with my shipmates, and we basically took off on our own for a few months, but that's fairly normal for us. But there's some changes, but for the most part, it was a normal deployment. So I was surrounded by about 250 of my closest forced friends.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So
now, did you get vaccinated early on? Did you get vaccinated fairly early? And
no,
I guess it would be no.
I just got my second dose here just recently. So
okay. So I mean, that's another thing too. Like, we were vaccinated. The paramedics and nurses were first. So we were like January of this year. We were done the first 3 weeks, right? So that it gave me anyways, kind of peace of mind as well. You could still get it, but you might not get it as bad, right? And I mean, we were going to COVID cases sometimes every call every day for like weeks on end at the fire department or with paramedic services was just COVID nonstop. So that gave some peace of mind, and our PPE we have and protocols, and you know how it is. It's just, follow your protocols and fingers crossed. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, so the Relentless is going to be seen on the Hollywood Suite and Hollywood Suite on Demand starting now. The first episodes will air on the 21st of September, and the second pair of episodes, parts 3 and 4, will be on September 28th. Can you tell my listeners where else they can find you?
You can find me. I have to look at my phone just so I give you the right handles, because So, okay, Twitter, it's Kevin Porter 10. Some people remember this off the top of their heads, and I just don't. And let's see, the old Instagram is it's probably something similar because we're a creature of habit. Kevin Porter 11. What do you know? 11's my number, so I prefer 11. But anyways.
I don't blame you. It's a good number. It's a Kevin Sakagoivu, Kevin Muller. You know, good solid number.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I really hope that this docu series helps open some eyes and gets you that door open that I think you deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I keep it simple. I'm just going to keep working hard, and like I said, documentary or no documentary, I would still be doing all this irregardless. So, yeah, like I said, they just came along for the ride. I was going to do this irregardless. So, um, yeah, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, it was a great time, and hope to chat again soon.
Absolutely, you're always welcome back here.
Okay, Blaine. Thank you so much. Take care. Be safe.
You too. Take care.
Talk to you. All right. Ciao.